position is being eliminated, and today will be your last day with CrowdStrike.
If I do anything with this, I just want to share that. I want to share that kind of unfiltered version of what does this journey look like? I'm starting from zero and I'm going to go through, who knows? I have to update my resume, update my LinkedIn, start applying to jobs. What does that job process look like?
5 months later.
Cheers. What you just saw was what started this journey 5 months ago, I think it was. And May 7th all the way to October 6th will be the day that I actually start this new job. That's right. I'm gainfully employed again. And my announcement is that I'm going to be a senior director, head of program management and product operations at a company that I am not ready to announce. But follow me on LinkedIn, check out more of my YouTube videos in the future, listen to my podcast, and you're going to hear all about that company in the coming months. You know, when I made that video that we just watched, that little clip, my first video ever on YouTube, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know where I was going to be. I didn't know what was going to come in the next few months, but it was such an exciting journey. And I got the opportunity to meet so many different people. You know, I met different people. I worked with different companies. I got to inspire as well as be inspired by so many different stories that I've heard about people in their layoff journey. You know, I want to say very quickly that a lot of the success of why I even got interviews was attributed to a company called Jobhire.ai. And if you haven't heard of them, I've made multiple videos about Jobhire.ai services, how you can try them out using my code DRE30 for 30% off throughout the month of August and September 2025. And I can't thank them enough, honestly. I think a lot of people who do paid promotions do it because they make money and that's how they make a living. But that's not the case here. You know, I'm not making a living off of this. I'm going back to work. And I want to say thank you to Jobhire.ai. And I want to encourage anyone who watches this video to at least give them a shot, because they will give you your money back if you don't land an interview in the first 15 days. And I think that that's an awesome offer that they provide. So with that, you know, looking back 5 months ago, I don't have a very clear answer of why I was laid off. I have a ton of conspiracy theories from a lot of my colleagues who were also laid off. I have my own idea of what kind of happened. I have the people who I think, if they knew about it, could have and would have gone up to bat to save my job. And then I have the people who I am pretty certain they knew about it and they did absolutely nothing to try to protect my job, but they made sure that they still have a job and they know who they are. So if they see this, I won't say any negative things about you, but thank you for not taking my phone calls and my text messages when I needed help the most. That being said, I want to focus on the positive, because this journey has been completely unexpected and so wonderful. You know, I have a podcast. It's called The Reboot Era. If you have been following along, you know what this is. If you haven't been following along, I started The Reboot Era as a way to be part of the conversation of other people who have been laid off, hiring managers, recruiters, to get an understanding of what is the current market and what are they looking for and how can candidates really put their best foot forward. I met with career coaches. I met with authors of books. You know, I have a book sitting right here on my desk that I had an opportunity to read. And I've just met such awesome human beings. And so I encourage anyone who is ever going through something difficult, whoever, you know, is going through something that they don't know what to do, document it, find a community, find a network of people you can, you know, trauma bond with. With that, I also created this YouTube, and this YouTube channel is all about how to help people, how to give free resources, how to, you know, explain maybe certifications that I've went and got and whether or not I feel like they were beneficial. I try things so that you don't have to. Other than saying thank you, you know, I want to highlight what essentially worked for me. It started with documentation. It was why, you know, that I got laid off. It was posting on LinkedIn consistently. I will say consistency was key. I was posting every single day for the first maybe 3 or 4 months of this. I had posted almost every single day. And every post was a little bit different. It wasn't just, today's a hard day. I don't think I ever posted something to that extent. But what I did do was I made sure that the content that I was putting out there on LinkedIn was something that people wanted to see, right? Polls that were very interesting for people to interact with, because people scroll LinkedIn just like they scroll TikTok or they scroll YouTube Shorts. I put things that people could engage with essentially out there. That's going to grab their attention. That's going to make them feel like they're part of a conversation. I posted controversial topics sometimes. I said things that were a little outlandish so that people were like, hey, I have to think about that. And here's my perspective. Through that, I ended up meeting a lot of different companies and individuals who were in a position to hire. Being an active voice, being out there and talking really can get you seen. And so if there's anything that I've learned from this is just be consistent and put yourself out there, because you never know what will happen. I had a TikTok that was just supposed to be funny. It took me all of 5 minutes to create it, and it got over 70,000 views, which, when I started TikTok, I thought that's never going to be me, right? I only have 140 something followers right now, and that's way more. I mean, 140 something follow people in my room with me would be wild, because I have 2 dogs, and that's wild. So I couldn't imagine anything more than that. But through all of this, Jobhire.ai saw one of my posts. They're a newer company. They ended up reaching out, put on one of my posts, and we DM'd and we talked about potential collaboration. And that, something that I thought was going to lead to like, oh, I'm going to make all this money. That's not the case. But I got something even bigger. I got an opportunity to interview I had 5 interview opportunities. And I'm going to go through, I'm going to share my screen in a moment, but I'm going to look at like what Jobhire.ai did for me. And I'm going to show everyone this is exactly what worked. And I honestly said it. I made a few videos about it. I forgot about it. And I was getting these emails being like, hey, we want to interview you for this role. It gave me the time to look into the role quickly and then decide if I wanted to interview or not. I had friends who were constantly reaching out to me, who sent me job postings, who sent me roles on their teams that they were hiring for. That network aspect is really important too. I also met another company, which I'll make a separate video on, but I want to mention them here. It's called Jobbyo, and it's a newer company that is essentially doing something very similar to Jobhire.ai, but has very different strengths. There is a free opportunity when you sign up for Jobbyo where you can get help with your resume, you can get help with your cover letter, and it's all with AI. And then their paid services are the auto applications. So there's going to be a further video, but go check out Jobbyo as well, because I think that's a free resource that you could absolutely take advantage of today. Now, before I get into Jobhire and show you my screen, I think it was almost 800 positions that it applied to on my behalf. I want to talk a little bit about what the process was. So throwback to July 24th, 2025, received my PMP. I earned my PMP, which is a great certification to go and get. Originally I said, and I always will say, I don't believe that you should have to spend money when you're not making money. But if you have the funds, getting additional certifications doesn't hurt. If you're gainfully employed right now, and for some reason you see this video, take the time when you have a job to invest in your education, to get further certifications, to do further learning, because you will be shocked at how much that's valued in the future when you need a job or you want to look for a new opportunity. That being said, July 26th, I believe I had signed the paperwork and started collaborating with Jobhire.ai. The first week or two was really just me playing around with the system and figuring out like how it worked and what the pros and the cons were. I think I made a video or two. And then from there, it really started to pick up on the jobs that it was applying to on my behalf. And so I believe it was about 11 days from the time that I signed up with Jobhire.ai all the way to when I got my first email saying, hey, we want to invite you. Now, what I will say is that first email came from a car wash dealership thingy across the street from where I live. And they were like, hey, we would love for you to come be a car wash guest services assistant. And I was like, I'm going to drink to that, because no, I'm not going to go from cybersecurity to asking people if they want the deluxe package or a single wash. but I'm flattered. So I thought it was a joke. I really did not think that Jobhire.ai was going to help me. And then I was like, I might as well just keep going, right? I'm working with them. I don't want to break the terms and conditions of my agreement that I have with them. So I let it go. And about 2 days later, I got another email from a different company, but this one was legit. This was for a program manager role at a really, really, really cool, it's like not quite defense contracting, but they work with the DoD and they work with the government. So I was like, okay, this is legit. It's a very small company. The pay was something that I was comfortable with. And I met the recruiter very quickly. We talked on LinkedIn. I went to the first round. It was an awesome experience. I would love to say the company name, but I don't know if I should or if I could. Well, I guess I can because I didn't take the opportunity. So it's called Beast Code, and it is an awesome company. I highly recommend checking it out. I wish I could connect you with people there. I got an opportunity to meet one of the, I think he was a VP or a senior director, and then I got an opportunity to meet the COO, whose nephew, I believe, is the one who started the company. I have nothing but amazing things to say about that interview process and about that company. I thought they were really, really cool. I also had an opportunity at Walmart. Shout out to one of my friends. You know who you are if you see this video. He had a role he was hiring for directly, and he thought I would be a great fit. That's the power of your network. He reached out when he said, hey, I can actually help you, right? Before just giving a referral, it is helpful, but a lot of people reach out. He was like, I want to reach out when I can truly like help, dictate that process and get you more than just an interview. So basically, from there, I got this third interview. And this third interview was for the company that I ended up accepting. I thought, head of program management. That's a big title. I was a little worried at first that maybe I didn't have what they were looking for, even though they reached out. Sometimes, recruiters or whatever don't fully read everything. They just want to get like a first round scheduled. And I remember looking through the job posting like 15 times before I decided to reply. Inside of the posting, like right at the end, actually, it said, if you don't think you're a fit or you don't think you're 100%, qualified for the role, apply anyways, because we'd still love to hear from you and meet you. And I was like, okay, like, whatever, I'll just do it. And so I had a first round like a day later. It was with the chief of staff. She was absolutely amazing, very transparent about the process. By the end of the call, she had already decided that she wanted to move me to the next round. And before we got off the phone, I had an email in my inbox waiting from her saying, please provide me your availability. And I think that that's the thing is like companies who really do want you will move very quickly and they'll make sure they show the talent that they like, that you're valuable and that they want you. From there, I had an interview like 2 days later. I met with two individuals who were absolutely wonderful people. They had really cool backgrounds. They were very laid back, but they knew how to be intense when needed. And they had really cool stories to share with me. I loved meeting them and I'm very excited to work with them. I then went on a trip. I went to Seattle, took my dogs, we hung out. And while I was there, I ended up getting another round interview with them, with this company. I met another guy. He also was very cool. He was on a trip. I believe he was on a cruise in Alaska. So he couldn't make that first round or second round, but I had a solo interview with him. He was great. His questions were great. I think we saw eye to eye on a lot of stuff, and I'm very excited to work with him as well. And then the last round was with the hiring manager, which I usually don't go that long before meeting a hiring manager. So I was nervous to meet this hiring manager, but when he called in, he shared that he's heard nothing but great feedback about me. And that was like, oh, crap. Maybe I did well, but now I feel like I have this like narrative of a big shoes to fill. And we talked about his family. We talked about his kids. We talked about my background, not just my educational or professional background, but we actually talked about my race. We talked about sexuality. We talked about allergies, like food allergies. And that was the majority of the interview. I did get one or two questions around, technical aspects of like, what can I do? And if I'm familiar with certain things, but being able to relate with someone that quickly and understand that you have a bond and you have a lot of things to relate on is something that I personally admire and value very strongly in a relationship with my coworkers and with my peers. So from the start, of our conversation between this new manager and myself, I felt like it was going to be a very good fit. And by the end of the call, he had verbally let me know if it wasn't clear yet, you're going to have an offer extended to you by the end of the day. So that was just so fulfilling to be like, wow. And from start to finish with Jobhire.ai, because they apply to jobs for me, it took 35 days. The national average in the US right now to find a job is 44 days. So that's 9 days ahead of time that I was able to beat that process. Now, it did take 4 months before I had started working with Jobhire.ai. I think if I would have worked with them sooner, I probably could have landed interviews quicker. I probably could have had an offer quicker. And maybe this wouldn't have been as long as a layoff journey as I would have wanted it to be. But I also think at the same time, everything happens for a reason. And I feel like getting to meet the people I met on my podcast was probably the biggest reason why my layoff lasted so long. I think I only manually applied to about 50. I hate applying. I hate filling paperwork out. I think it's really boring. I focused on networking and I try to focus on giving content and making content. With all of this and all that I learned, let me go ahead now and open up Jobhire. Now, what we are currently looking at is my dashboard. Now, I have paused my search, right? So my search is paused. This is what it's indicating to hurry back. There's not a lot that's changed. I don't think anything much at all actually has changed since I started using Jobhire.ai. But as you can see, 755 is the total number of applications that were applied to on my behalf. I was searching for senior program manager roles, and I ended up landing a senior director, head of program management and product operations role at a really cool company. When we look through the inbox, you can see the interview invitations is from, these are still coming in as of 4 days ago. You have additional info requests, you have application acknowledgement. I like to look at this one, rejection notifications. So 77 of those 755 I was rejected from. I think these position status updates are also rejections. These are just like notifying you that you did a thing, you applied. But I do like this breakdown of all of these different aspects. They are also, this call out up here is very important, right? All of these emails are forwarded to your main email. I don't think this was on my original review of the platform, but all of these are forwarded to your main email and they might end up in spam. And just make sure you're checking your spam. I did have one problem on here where a recruiter had reached out and asked me for times that I was available, but I was unable to reply to the email. That's where you try to think ahead. Don't call Jobhire.ai. I mean, sure, report the bug, but I went on LinkedIn, I found the recruiter's name, and I sent them an in-mail, and I said, hey, just sending you a connection request. I'm actually not able to apply. Sorry, I'm not able to reply to the email you asked for my availability. And I gave it to the person over LinkedIn, and actually it moved the process forward a lot quicker. So highly recommend that. I never used their AI cover letter or their AI mock interview, as well as their AI resume. Because I think you can get both a human review and an AI review. I didn't utilize those, but it doesn't hurt if you want to give it a try. It does cost a little extra, so that's typically why I don't like to go and be like, hey, you should go do this thing. On the applications, this is kind of what was in progress before I hit the pause button and kind of breakdown. You can see up here, this is actually new. So current match is greater than 55%, and then the search type is applying instantly without approval. You can go ahead and change these right here now. Before that was an option. So I'm loving to see that update. And then if we go and look at all the completed applications, again, you can see there's still no filters up here quite yet, but you can see that these are pretty good. I wonder if I change this to an 80% match. Yeah, no, it doesn't filter these down up here. That's just going to be my search that it's actually doing. But it would be nice to have a filter just so you can see like what those match percentages are and kind of rank them by highest to lowest. But I mean, this applied to a ton of jobs, which was really great. And I like this new view of these jobs and this overview that they're providing. Back to the dashboard. I don't think there's anything else to show here. We already looked through the inbox and I don't have those options. The only other thing was the search settings. I still don't see the option, but there was I wish there was an easier way to just basically update what exactly you're searching for. So with that, pretty much the too long, didn't read version is that 755 jobs were applied to. 10% of those roughly were automatically rejected. And then from there, I kind of heard back from about 5 companies. I took interviews for 2 of the companies, 2 of the 5. I found another opportunity on LinkedIn from a friend, and now I am gainfully employed again. So with all of this, if you've watched this much of the video, thank you so much. I'm very excited. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I want to share my journey, but I want to help you as much as I can. Check out the Reboot Era. That podcast is actually coming to an end of season 1 at the end of September 2025. It will be picking that back up with a very different spin on the Reboot Era for season 2, which is going to be brought to you January 2026. I'm going to I'm going to keep creating content for everyone. On my YouTube account, I want it to be educational. I want to try things for everyone. I want to tell you about how the job's going. I also will be on TikTok, probably YouTube Shorts more than anything else. TikTok, I don't know what's going to happen in the next few days with Trump and the ban and the US and all the stuff. So, I'll be posting on YouTube Shorts just funny videos. That's my comedic outlet, and probably bringing my wine glass full of chocolate milk. But I do want to say thank you. Thank you to the 100 people on YouTube that subscribe to my channel. Thank you to the people who might watch this, who just watch my videos, who might see it on LinkedIn. Thank you to Jobhire.ai, which I think I've done enough of. Again, if you want 30% off, use my code. It's going to be linked below. And if you're new here, subscribe. I would love for you to keep following my journey. If you want to add a comment, if you have a question, anything that I can help you with, just let me know how I can do that. Otherwise, I'm going to log off now. I'm going to edit this video, upload it, and then finish my chocolate milk and go to bed. But thanks so much for following my journey and being part of this. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers.